Good evening, 8th graders. This is Holland Beck going to help you take care of Lesson 8 in vocabulary. It is a context clue. Dog, be quiet. Sorry, I didn't put that. That's not a special effect. The dog is being annoying. Anyway, the context lesson 8 begins on page 31, and the context lesson is page page 161. All right, so I won't read through that, but I'll remind you of some of the contextual clues, maybe, to help you out. Let's go ahead and begin. Put my book over here so I can see it better. The first word is comely. Comely is an adjective. It's like Hollenbeck, it's a ly ending. How can it be an adjective and not an adverb? Comely is like the word and almost synonymous with the word lovely. It's more of an antiquated word. We don't use this as much when we're talking about a person's appearance. If they have a comely appearance, it means they're attractive. Okay, they're visually, fun to look at. Okay, they're either wearing something nice or they're dressed nicely, and so we would describe them as comely. Okay, once again, an adjective. The next word is decadence. Decadence is a noun. Its adjective form is decadent. But this is a noun form, and let me give you kind of an explanation, then I'll give you an example. We can see in the word descend, it has that prefix, that D, like decline, decrease. So if we fall into decadence, it means we decline from a place or a standard where we were before. And so society may fall into decadence. The crime is so bad and there's not enough money for the police force. They might fall into decadence there. Let's see. If you go off to college and you don't have the moral strength of character or the strength that your parents might provide, you could fall into moral decadence there in college. And a lot of times, kids, because they don't have parents to answer to, they kind of go off and they kind of decline in their behavior. All right, and that is decadence. So here, I made this decadent dessert, and see, that's when you might hear it. Let me get this thing. My fudge can be decadent, and it can lead you into decadence. But this pumpkin cake, oh my gosh. And the frosting is like pure fat, but it's so good. It's so good. It is really good. You really can't see it from this, but trust me, it is way good. Alright, that's one way. If it leads you to not eat at your normal standard of good, healthy food, you go into nutritional decadence. This and my fudge. But you can always then eat an apple and even it out. There you go. Okay. So you get what decadence means? Okay. That's it's a noun. Erroneous. I use this word all the time. All right. And Mr. Brighter did when he said your error. Okay. I would just tell you usually that statement is erroneous. It is an adjective, and this shows you perfectly what happens when you add an OUS to a noun. Err is my base word. I add the OUS and I have erroneous. Okay? And so it means, wrong, your error, that either the statement or the situation is just wrong. Okay? The next word, flaunt. You probably heard this word before. It is a verb. Okay? And if somebody is flaunting their wealth, they might drive the fancy car, they may wear the fancy outfit, a lot of bling, perhaps, if they are flaunting their wealth. Now this, it just means to show it off, I think in the analogies where the peacock flaunts his feathers, okay, he shows them off. So flaunt means to show off, okay? Do not confuse this with another verb that sounds very similar, and that verb is flout. It's spelled F-L-O-U-T. Now I remember we had this, or maybe the 8th graders had it last year, but this was a wordmaster word, and flout doesn't mean to show off. It means to kind of throw a rule back in the face of someone who made the rule. Like, you're not the boss of me. If you flout those rules, you're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to follow that rule. All right? So flouting means to disregard rules, disregard authority. Okay, and if you just flout it, means forget it. I'm not going to follow those rules. Okay, so it's showing off to some degree, but it's kind of showing off that you're not going to follow the rules. Okay, that's flouting the rules. All right, or that's flouting. Okay, so don't get it confused. Flaunt is totally to show off. Look at me, look at me, look at me. That's what flaunt is. Okay, once again, verb. Hypercritical is an adjective. I explained this with the analogies, I believe, that hyper means way above, much more, to a much higher degree. Okay, so if somebody is hyperactive, they're not just really active; they are more than active. Okay, if somebody is hypersensitive. Okay. Hypersensitive to, for instance, my one son was hypersensitive to doctors. He had seriously what they call a white coat syndrome. He would go to the doctor's office, his blood pressure would shoot through the roof. He was so nervous about going to the doctor. He is hypersensitive to that situation. All right. So we have critical, which means if you're critiquing, you're picking out some erroneous stuff, or hypercritical means being even pickier. Okay, even pickier, looking for the most minute of errors. Okay, that is hypercritical. Irascible is an adjective. Once again, I think I spoke to it in the analogies for last week, but irascible I want to make sure, yes. Irascible is, I'm guessing that we all have been probably irascible at one point in our life. I know I have. When I'm quick to lose my temper or quick to be annoyed. Sometimes people are irascible when they're first awakened, you know, or if they don't get up naturally, they're, you know, the alarm clock goes off on the Monday morning and you didn't get enough sleep. Okay, you're going to be irascible in the morning. Okay, there are going to be things that just tick you off that normally wouldn't tick you off. All right. Let me see another situation. Something else that might make a person irascible is if they're hungry. You know, I think a lot of times, should I get a knife for Halloween? Sorry, I'm just reading this note that Chloe's writing to me. I think she means to carve pumpkins. Okay. What? Okay. Anyway, so if you're hungry, you could be irascible. Okay. I know that 7th and 8th graders, we eat lunch pretty late, and sometimes that last class period, we're like, ugh, your stomach's growling, and you're like, oh, come on, just get this class over with, just because you're hungry. All right, that could cause a person to be irascible. Okay, so quick-tempered, easily annoyed. All right, maybe there are few individuals, none that I've met. Usually, there's a reason for that quick temper. One of my brothers was pretty irascible as a teenager. Everything. He had a quick temper in everything. But now he's not that way. He kind of grew out of that. So maybe that was just, I don't know, being a teenager. Teenage angst, maybe. All right, our next word is miscreant. Miscreant is a person noun. Okay? And come January, we're going to be having auditions for the miscreant in our melodrama. The miscreant is the bad guy. Okay? Misdemeanor. Okay? A miscreant would do a misdemeanor. Okay? A miscreant would cause misfortune and mishap and misbehave. Okay? Miscreant is the bad guy. Okay? Some people have the erroneous idea that junior high students are a bunch of miscreants who are irascible and have fallen into social decadence. Oh, I got a few of them in there, in that sentence. Okay. Word 8, ostentatious. Ostentatious. I betcha I could go on YouTube and find a couple of videos which are rather ostentatious. It's an adjective, and let me just describe to you what would be perhaps an ostentatious, outfit. Tomorrow I showed up in my hot pink pleather miniskirt with my fishnet stockings and my thigh-high leather boots, riding on my Harley and not wearing a helmet. flouting that rule of the road. That would be ostentatious behavior. Do you think you might notice that? Do you think a few people would turn their heads going, get a load, right? Ostentatious is not just noticeable, but it is like, whoa, all right, what is that person thinking? Okay. That is ostentatious behavior, okay, when it's like totally, oh my gosh, what were they thinking, okay? Some people, may dress in an ostentatious way. Some might behave in an ostentatious way. If they're bumptious and they want to get attention negatively, they may speak loudly in just a way that you would be like, shh, don't say that aloud. That would be an ostentatious remark. It's very noticeable and usually a negative connotation. If you're being described as ostentatious, that's not necessarily a positive thing, okay? Yeah. And by the way, I do not own a neon pink mini skirt or fishnet. I'm trying to decide in what context fishnet stockings would ever be appropriate to wear, where they would not always be ostentatious. I can't think of a situation. If you can, please let me know. Okay? Pretentious. Pretentious is an adjective. And just like ostentatious, it's kind of, it has negative connotations. Okay? Those are good words to use in writing because those can really create an image in a person's mind. A pretentious person, now get this, pretends, do you see that word in there? A pretentious individual pretends that they are something that they are not. All right? And usually they make themselves seem a little more grand than what they truly are. Okay? So a pretentious person, in our analogies, we had pretentious and humble. Well, obviously those are opposites because a pretentious person thinks of themselves as here and tries to make ostentatious remarks and actions about how they're so here when they're just pretending. And so they might tell stories that are false to make themselves seem better than what they truly are, okay? Or they might talk about their stats in a game or their performance in a game that was much better. They might say it was much better than what it actually was. They're pretending. So you can remember the word pretentious because they are pretending to be something that they are not. Okay? Something bigger and better. Okay? Stereotype. Oh, we talked about this word. Stereotype, it's a noun. Check to make sure on that. Yeah. Stereotypical would be the adjective. Okay? So it's just a noun. Stereotype is a noun. And I said earlier that some people believe that junior high students are all a bunch of miscreants who are ostentatious, pretentious, and irascible, and have fallen into social decadence, and they are erroneous most of the time. Okay? That statement that I just made is a stereotype. all right, that it's a statement that is a generalization about a whole group, that, or a judgment or a labeling of a whole group, that's really not what that whole group is about. Okay, it's a labeling. Okay, we talked about stereotypes last year when we read the story Ransom of Red Chief, you remember? And they were not stereotypical kidnappers, all right? And that kidnapping story was not stereotypical. It didn't go down like a normal kidnapping would go down, right? Some other stereotypes that we do, perhaps the stereotype teachers as all being hypercritical. Okay. What other stereotypes do we do? Another erroneous. Well, most stereotypes are erroneous because, you know, are some teenagers miscreants? Sure. But not all of them are. Okay. Do some teenagers get angry between the years of, what, 12 and whatever? Do they have anger issues or just some angst? Yeah, but not all of them do. Okay. So it's pretty much making a judgment call on a whole group based on the actions of a few within that group. Okay. There's all sorts of stereotypes when it comes to different ages, races, genders. You know, the whole blonde thing. Those are stereotypes. Okay, and they're false. All right, they're wrong. And stereotyping, making judgments like that, is just not what we're called to do as Christians, right? All right, so we're on page 160. Yeah, 161. Okay, and I'm going to give a brief little perusal to see if there's what weirdness you can expect, what context clues you can expect to use. All right. Make sure, I mean, I just did a quick look down and I saw immediately there's a synonym right after. You know, they do that all the time. Beware also of the antonym, but you're going to see clue words like not and the conjunction but. So look for those antonyms as well, and make sure to put opposite of, okay? Because it's going to show up in that way in the questions. You could count on it. So let me give another perusal here, a quick one. Let's see. They're going to give you an example. Okay. I see that in the first column. They're going to give you an example to define the word. They'll give you an example. It's like looking in the dictionary and it says, see this, and there's a picture. Okay. For instance, definition for houndstooth. See Hollenbeck's glasses. Okay. A definition for hypercritical. Hopefully it's not C. Hollenbeck. And can be critical, but hopefully not hypercritical. Beware of the synonym that comes before the word, the vocab word. All right. I talked about the synonym that comes right after. Be careful for the one that comes in the sentence before. Okay, watch for that. I see in a positive. There is an opposite. I see an opposite written in my book here. I do not see any like or as. Could be wrong, but I don't see that one this time. Okay? Well, I hope that helps you, 8th grade, and we'll talk to you soon.